I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. Trying to figure out who I am or who I'm supposed to be. Feel good about where I stand so I can make the most of me. I'm coming back down from space some a million miles away. There's a lot of love in this place, and I'm just trying to say that I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Been a long time living this way, worrying about what people say. Feeling like I don't fit in, but I won't give up, no I won't give in. Been looking for something more. What you really looking for? Been with you since you were born, since you were born. You're good, you're good, you're good, you're good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. You only live once until the very end, 'cause I wanna see another love revolution. Find a way to be a better.
Good morning, and congratulations for setting your clocks ahead. Not everybody did, as we can tell. It is a good morning. It's good to be here and to see you, because today and every day we have swung wide the doors to the presence of God, knowing that Spirit is in this place and in all places and all people. Just as this beautiful sun has awakened us to a new day, the Spirit of God within awakens us to divine glory. And this glory within and around us is everywhere we look and in every situation we encounter. With our hearts centered in Spirit, we can quiet our thoughts and meditate on the wonder of all of God's creation and our oneness with it. So I invite you now to take a deep breath, become comfortable, and gently release any cares of the day, because your sole purpose at this moment is to experience the divine. And you begin to do so now as you relax into this sacred time and space at Unity Spiritual Center. Seeing through eyes of oneness, acknowledging our oneness, we at Unity Spiritual Center celebrate and honor people of every culture, of every creed, of every religion, of every race, of every age, and every lifestyle, knowing that there are many paths to God, many faces of God, many names for God, but only one God. And that God is expressing through all people in unique, special, and individual ways. As you look at the flame of the candle that we light every Sunday, remember that you too have a flame within, a divine flame, that you are an individualized expression of God, that God is working through you, through your heart and your hands. We honor the one power and presence of God with Unity's foundation statement, which you'll find on the screen behind me, and I invite you to join with me in saying it aloud together. There is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as my life, God the good, omnipotent. We give thanks for our spiritual community and for the beauty of our spiritual center. We give thanks that Unity Spiritual Center is a welcoming, warm, and inclusive community dedicated to studying and putting into practice empowering principles and tools for happiness, health, prosperity, and successful living. We give thanks that with our spiritual teachings, we can create extraordinary lives and a peaceful planet through our relationship with the loving God presence within each one of us and through our relationships with one another. Our vision and the opportunity for each one of us here is that you discover the power within you to create the life of your dreams, that you have peace of mind and deep happiness, that you enjoy joyous and loving relationships with yourself, with spirit, and with others, that you spend your days doing what you love and feel called to do, and most of all, that you know that your life matters, that you make a difference, and that the world is a better place because you're here. Is there anyone visiting us for the first time? I don't believe so. Did you come for the first time last week, perhaps? Yeah, okay, well, welcome. I missed meeting you last week, but I'm so happy to see you. So I'm gonna skip the part where I talk about what we like to do for our newcomers, but I'll just remind you that wonderful hospitality is being prepared next door, and you are invited to join us following the service where we can get a chance to get to know you a little bit better. So just want to invite you as well that if you have anything on your mind, if you'd like to set up an appointment to talk, please don't hesitate to do that. And my contact information is printed on every printed piece that we do. So don't hesitate to contact me if you want to talk about Unity or about anything else that's on your mind. So as we move now into the meditative portion of our service and prepare to sing our wonderfully rollicking hymn, please turn off your electronic devices, including your cell phones, if you haven't done that already. And I will turn it over to our music maestro, Michael Hatfield.
All right, this is sort of meditative, if you want to. Depends on how you like to meditate. This is a song by Willie Nelson. I think we all know it. Best hymn ever, okay? Actually means a lot to me, you know, because that's where I spent a good hunk of my time a long time ago. I was definitely Newtown every day, and then doing cruise ships, new country every day. That was even crazier. New language every day. That was pretty cool. All right, we're going to sing On the Road again. We all know how this goes in some way, shape, or form. I expect it to be blurted out as loud as possible because I know it's feeling early, but we're just going to get into the day. Okay, here we go. On your mark. Get set. 1, 2, 3, 4. Willie's never gonna die. He's impervious. Here we go. On the road again. I just can't wait to get on that road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. I'm going places that I've never been, seeing things that I might never see again. I can't wait to get on that road again. On that road again. Like a band of gypsies we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keep turning our way. And our way is on the road again. I just can't wait to get on that road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. I can't wait to get on that road again. All right. Now, when you're playing country music, you can clap on 1 and 3, or you can clap on 2 and 4. It all works out. So clap wherever you want. I'm going to play a little solo, and then we're all going to sing the bridge together. That's a clue, so we get the screens back to the bridge. Okay, here we go. Let's all sing the bridge. Here we go. On the road again, like a band of gypsies, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, insisting that the world keep turning our way. And our way is on the road again. I just can't wait to get on that road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. And I can't wait to get on that road again. Sing that last line. I can't wait to get on that road again. And we'll get a long time on this one. I can't wait to get on the road again. Well, that was fun, and thank you.
All right. And now it's time for the daily word.
Everybody calm down.
So we're going to dial it back. We're going to relax. We're going to get quiet in our seats. And we are going to open our hearts to receive the message of today's daily word. I don't think anybody signed up today to read it, did they? No. So I know exactly who I'm going to call on. The word for the day is insight. Brian Lance, would you read the daily word?
Good morning, everybody. Insight. I see my life clearly. The Apostle Paul saw clearly and taught regularly that coming into Christ consciousness transforms our view of everything, asking, has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? No matter how today's events may unfold, I am never overwhelmed. As I deepen my connection to the Christ mind within, I see beyond worldly appearances to the spiritual truth that underlies everything. My spiritual journey begins with my awareness of the divine power that is God. Infinite divine love is so vast, so unimaginable to my human mind, that I am in awe of its power within me. I see my life clearly. And from Corinthians, what no eye has seen, nor ear heard, nor the human heart conceived, what God has prepared for those who love him.
Thank you, Brian. Unity Youth Spiritual Center is a center of prayer and healing. As all of you know, we have a communal prayer box in the back, and you are always invited to fill out a prayer request form that's printed on green paper and place it in that box. And we always like to invite everyone to just hold those requests in your heart. You don't know what they say, you don't know who's represented necessarily, but you know that they're calls of the heart by people of our community. So let's just take a moment to hold them in our consciousness and to know that no matter what the challenge is, Each person represented is enfolded in divine love, and that divine order is taking place in all of their lives. The prayer requests that are placed in this box are prayed on by me and our USC prayer team for 30 days. And then we forward them to Silent Unity at Unity's World Headquarters, where they're prayed on for an additional 30 days. As I mentioned, the prayer request forms are in the back of the sanctuary, printed on green paper, and you're always invited to fill one out. We also have these beautiful candle racks in the back if you'd like a visual prayer reminder. And you're invited to, to take the tab off on the bottom of the candle, which will light it. It's an LED candle, and place it in the holder of your choice, and we will keep those lit for the life of that candle. But we also have a time where we can make our prayers audible, and this is that time to offer your prayer needs to your spiritual family here so that we can support you and stand with you. So after we sing the introduction to the song, which Michael will lead us through, please feel free to speak your prayer aloud, and we will respond to each prayer request by singing, "Your prayer is my prayer too."
We are connected by the heart. Where do you end? Where do I start? Whatever you feel, I feel too. You're a part of me, I'm a part of you. Your prayer is my prayer too. 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 Your prayer is my prayer too.
We also have a time in our service where we like to share our blessings, those things that we feel grateful for, thankful for. This is your time to share those with your spiritual family.
am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
We give thanks for this opportunity to bless and to be blessed in spirit. We give thanks for the feelings of connection, of peace and warmth that fill our hearts and minds right now. We give thanks for the privilege of praying for others in our community, in our nation, and around the globe. And we affirm that always and in all ways, divine love and divine order is everywhere present. At Unity Spiritual Center, your prayer is our prayer too. And so it is.
So I had fun thinking of what tunes to do for today when Maggie said, well, I'm going to do Notes from the Road. It's a road songs. Cool. Okay. I thought about the Doors for a second and then said, no, maybe not go that way. But one song that I've always liked playing as a jazz musician was a tune by Wes Montgomery called Road Song. And it's a fun tune to play, and it's a fun tune to improvise on. And I said, well, somebody's had to have written lyrics for it. There's always somebody writing lyrics to every jazz tune ever, like Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. I tore the web apart. No one had written lyrics to this song. I did. So I said, this is more fun because then I can give it a little more personal approach. So we're going to do that, and we're going to get it started. So back in the back on the video screen, I'm going to sing it all the way down, and then I'm going to actually take an instrumental solo. And I think I'll sing it again. It's short enough, so we'll just fly on back there. Okay, here we go. Start this groove. Take a little road trip, get on out of town. Some other place where you can lose all the blues. Here's the lowdown. Take a little road trip, seek and you shall find. Don't worry about the time or place, you'll be fine now in no time. Get on a plane and fly away. Maybe you'll stay, get in the car on the freeway. Do it today, so take a little road trip, get yourself in gear. You'll never know until you go, so get gone now with no fear. A little road trip, get on out of town. Don't worry about where you can lose all the blues now. The lowdown. Take a little road trip, seek and you shall find. Don't worry about the time or place, you'll be fine now in no time. Get on the plane and fly away. Maybe you'll stay. Get in the car on the freeway. Do it today. So take a little road trip and get yourself in gear. You'll never know until you go, so get gone now with no fear. Said take a little road trip, get into the mode. You'll never know until you go, so get gone now, hit the road. You'll never know until you go, so get gone now, hit the road. Yeah.
That's great. That's what we're talking about. We are talking about hitting the road. So today I am going to launch something that I'm hoping will be repeated by you, because I'm going to spend this morning sharing with you some of the details of my recent trip to Mexico and some of the insights that it provided. And I know that many of us take wonderful trips. Ron Willis is on his way to Morocco tomorrow, so we sent him off with lots of traveling blessings. And I know Cheryl and Mary Ellen just got back from New Zealand. So there are a lot of us who are taking wonderful trips. We've heard from Brian about his trips to Colombia. It's Colombia, right? And what we've talked about on a board level is that we want to share. We want to connect as human beings. And one of the quickest ways to connect is by sharing our stories. So this is me just kind of launching us, but I want to invite all of you that if something really touches you, if you go on a trip that you want to share some insights, this is your open invitation to do that. Just let me know and I'll get you on the schedule. Because it's stories that connect us not only as a congregation, but also connect us as travelers of the world. Now, many of you know Phil Cousineau, who is a friend and colleague who I've brought to Unity Spiritual Center many times. And he wrote a book called The Art of Pilgrimage, which I'm actually featured in. The subtitle of that book is The Seeker's Guide to Making Travel Sacred. And in this book, he described what he called the Pilgrim's Law. A soulful traveler replenishes the camp before moving on for those who will follow. And you must share whatever wisdom you've been blessed with on your journey with those who are about to set out on their own journey. So isn't that a lovely way to think about traveling, that it is a communal thing? It's something that we're not just doing to take in or to consume, but it's something that we want to share with others when we're done. So I'm sort of taking that, hopefully it will be apparent as my guide today, and share some things that were meaningful to me on my recent journey. And again, just remember, if you take a trip of your own that you'd like to share, just let me know. So we are going to start with a report from the road, Oaxaca. How many people have been to Mexico? So, wow, I'd say that's about 3/4. How many people have been to Oaxaca? Okay, so we've got 4. Former Mexican President Enrique Nieto said, "Mexico is a mosaic of different realities and beauties." That's true. I think people who've been to Mexico will say that that is a true statement. And I was familiar with its beauties. Some of you may not know, in fact, probably most of you don't know, that I've been collecting Mexican folk art for probably around 25 years. And I focus specifically on ceramic figures by a woman named Josefina Aguilar, who is well known to Mexican folk art collectors. But I've also gathered other pieces that just touched my heart. Depictions of Guadalupe, Sacred Hearts. And what is interesting to me about this is I was not raised Catholic. So this does not come from any sort of ancestral knowledge, but just something that touched my heart and my soul. So I've made the joke before that I must have been Mexican in a former life, because I really feel such a deep soul connection to the arts of Mexico. But I'd never really visited Mexico before, other than coastal towns that are visited by cruise ships. So when an artist friend of mine named Lisa Sonora announced that she would be leading a trip called Creative Passport Mexico, Textiles and Talismans, and that it would be going through Oaxaca, I knew that I had to go, particularly since she mentioned it would be her last one. But one of the things that I want to mention, and I didn't know this until I got back, is that despite this richness, this abundance of creativity and cultural delights, Oaxaca is the second poorest state in Mexico. It's a very poor state. And I've been sitting with that question of, is there a correlation between those two things? You know, the fact that it's so poor, does that make the heart want to create beauty in any way that it can? I don't know. But I will say that Oaxaca is definitely worth visiting. And I read this article on Oaxaca that was actually printed in a London newspaper, and they said this. They said, if you were only ever going to visit one Mexican city, you could make a good argument for it being Oaxaca. The Latin American equivalent of Bath. Isn't that interesting? Compared it to Bath, England. It takes all the things we expect to find in Mexico, the colors, the churches, the markets, the pre-Hispanic temples, the music and the food, and wraps them all in a small package surrounded by cactus-covered hills. So let's take a visit to Oaxaca. There you see my beautiful homepage. Thought I had this up. Oaxaca, if you were to look at a map of Mexico, it's kind of like a backwards check mark. And Oaxaca is kind of where the intersection of those two lines would be. Oaxaca, like New York, is a state as well as a city. I was in Oaxaca City, but it is also a state known as Oaxaca. This was my view flying in, and I was really delighted and transfixed by the sight of all these little villages that were on the mountaintops as we flew in. That may be similar to your experience, Brian, flying into South America. But there was something very enchanting about seeing that each of these hilltops, mountaintops, had their own little village. Oaxaca itself, though, is in a valley, so that was kind of interesting. It's surrounded by mountains. Now, this was the place I was staying. I didn't stay at a hotel. I stayed at a retreat house that my friend Lisa Sonora has rented. She's created a wonderful retreat house in the center of the city, and this was in the courtyard where we had our meals. The work on the walls is Lisa's. I didn't ask her about that little creature guarding the door. I have a feeling that's not Lisa's, but it was a very lovely and colorful place to stay, and definitely conducive to making art. So this, I don't know why this is on an angle here, but this is one of her pieces. Let's see if I can do this in front of you. Guess it doesn't matter. This is one of her pieces that was hanging in my room. It says, "Love the journey, begin, and love yourself." So that was kind of a nice talisman to begin my journey with. The very first day, the first full day that I was there, we drove into the hillside, and that's what was so amazing is that we got out into these villages. So it wasn't the slick commercial look at Mexico that maybe you might see. We really kept the focus on artisans, and the artisans live in villages that are outside of the city. So this was one of the first stops that we made, and this delightful man was showing us how they make dyes out of native plants and minerals. And as you can see, it looked like an altar. The setup was like an altar with all these bowls full of flowers and fruits. And there was a big bowl. I don't know if you can see the larger lumps, but they were actually rocks of indigo that the indigo paint is made from. And here is this lovely gentleman who gave us this wonderful presentation, not only about how dyes are made, but also the wools that they use in weaving. And so it was a very sensory presentation where we got to feel the different kinds of wools that they use. And as you can see, the loom is behind him. And so he actually showed us this amazing contraption where he can be holding tufts of wool, and it's immediately spun into thread that they use for weaving. This was kind of neat. This is when he was showing how pomegranate seeds, which we're all familiar with a pomegranate probably, how mixed with a particular, I think it was that piece of wood that he's holding, that when it was mixed with that, it turned green, which is kind of interesting. So he gave us the hands-on demonstration to show the actual paints. This is indigo, which was especially interesting to have seen because later in Oaxaca City, we went to the textile museum where there was a whole exhibit on indigo and clothes that have been made out of indigo. But here you can see some of the beautiful weavings that were made using those dyes, using the wool that we had just felt. And you can see what an array of colors that they're able to get. So it was quite entrancing to think of something that's handmade down to the collecting of the wool, down to the creation of the dyes, loomed by hand, and something that we take for granted, I think, in this age of mass manufacturing, just how beautiful something like that is. We went later to a market where aprons were for sale. Now, some of you who have been with me in the Art Attic know that I already have a couple of art aprons that come from Mexico, but what you'll see when you go, or what I saw when I went to Oaxaca, is that this is something that women actually wear, and it's not just a touristy thing. The women of the city and the state actually wear these beautiful aprons, and so it was a lot of fun to look at them, the different kinds of embroidery they involve, and to actually see then the women wearing them. And yes, I did bring home another one. We went to one of the largest trees around. This tree is 2,000 years old. It's on the way back into Oaxaca. And it's quite magical to see this huge tree that's been around for so long. And the trunk is such that you can see little figures. And there were child guides who would come around and point out animals, the animals that they could see in the trunk. And you really could see them. It was pretty amazing and also amusing when one of the child guides pointed out the wig of Donald Trump. Now, I happened to go at a really wonderful time because it was Shrove Tuesday. It was, the Tuesday before Mardi Gras, as we might call it. And so I saw festival after festival and parade after parade. So that very first day, here is a famous church that is in the center of Oaxaca. This is Santo Domingo. And this parade passed by it, and I thought the juxtaposition was so interesting. So all the outside towns have their own, I wouldn't call it a float, but they have their own uniforms and ways of presenting their town to the people who watch the parade. This was one. And this, whoops, I want to go back here. This I just found a fascinating picture. I took this of one of the masks. You're also going to see like demons, scarier images in these parades, and I found it interesting that, well, first of all, I mean, there's Mexico, right? From the indigenous beliefs, to this beautiful Catholic church in the background. But it's all part of us, isn't it? It's all part of us. And I actually wonder if there is a healthy impulse in looking at things that are a little bit scarier, a little bit uglier, rather than sweep them away, that by embracing all of this, there's a very holistic look at life, isn't there? We finished that first night at a beautiful rooftop restaurant where they were serving the chapulines, the dried grasshoppers. Yeah, Annette knows what I'm talking about. I was almost brave enough to try one, and then when the person sitting next to me tried one and made this terrible face, I thought, okay, I'll pass on that. But this is something that is eaten and used as a form of protein. So I experienced it, but I didn't fully immerse myself in that experience. And the very last image of that night is Lisa, my friend. We were walking home, and all of a sudden we saw these two trolls, I guess part of a parade, but aren't they funny? I mean, and just that's where you get this magic of Mexico. Like, all of a sudden you're surrounded by these two trolls who happen to be cute teenage boys behind the masks, and took that picture right before we went into her gate. The next day was Sunday. So last Sunday we spent in Lisa's studio, and I worked on two things while I was there: an art journal, which was a really wonderful way to both experience the place and also document my experiences, and also a talisman. So there you can see my favorite things: milagros. There's a woman praying in gold, Mary and her beautiful Sacred Heart, and of course Frida Kahlo. So it was a wonderful way to travel and make art at the same time, and it definitely made me want to continue doing that when I travel. So just some, beautiful scenes that you might see walking. You see the cobblestone streets and the buildings in different colors. Monday night we went to go see an interesting American named Stephen Jenkinson. Anybody heard of him before? He is the subject of a movie called Grief Walker, and he has an interesting premise that the way to love life is to remember death, that all of us are in some sort of process of dying, something that's very compatible, I think, with a Mexican philosophy. So it was very interesting to go to a lecture by an American in Mexico, but was part of the spiritual immersion to spend a few hours thinking about the deepest concepts of life and death. The next day, Tuesday, we went out again into the villages. Just thought this was so sweet, but you see this wonderful color. You're just surrounded by color all the time. And it was a wedding. But again, it was like Mexican wedding, small town Mexican wedding meets Shrove Tuesday festival. So it turned into this incredible affair. Here you can see this adorable little boy and probably his abuela looking at another little boy as the parade participants start coming. But here they are all dancing. So what he's wearing on his pants are bells, so he could shake his booty, and you'd hear some wonderful bells. You see the clown, you see this like white gorilla, and then you can see the white of the dress of the bride. So it was just an amazing kaleidoscope of sights at all times. Here again is one of the perhaps scarier parade participants. What they do is they cover their body in motor oil. So it's probably not the healthiest thing to do, but it's quite a sight. Here are some other parade participants. And if you look in the background, you're going to see writing on a wall. Evidently, according to Lisa, because the literacy rate is so low, they have to make medical announcements with graphics, using graphic images. So that one, I think, is, was it talking about adolescence without violence? So that was one. There was one that we saw for condoms. There was one that we saw to take your elderly grandparents in to see a doctor. But fascinating to see these medical announcements made in graphic art. So here's some more participants. And then we went to another art workshop. How many people saw Coco? Yeah, so and help me, Annette, with the name. Is that Alabrije? The name? Yeah, so the Alabrije. So we went to a workshop where they make these fantastical creatures, and I fell in love with an octopus in a market in Oaxaca. I passed by it so many times. It was going to be $90 US, and it was big enough I didn't think I would get it home in one piece. So I passed on it, but this is the one I fell in love with. You can see how amazing it is. But this is what happens. It goes from this hand-carved wood into these beautiful, brightly painted animals. And you can see that their paints are not the fancy golden paints we use upstairs. They're using, just basic paints to create these incredible creatures. So that was a wonderful stop. And then on our way back to Oaxaca City, we just happened to see a goat herder walking his goats. Now, this is what made it a pilgrimage. As I mentioned, I collected this woman's work for 25 years. I don't know why I'm crying, but it was sweet. So we got to go see her. And this is the sign that you see when you roll up. Here I am, Josefina Aguilar, just about to enter the Holy Land. And there she is. So someone whose work has surrounded me for 25 years. I've got her work in my kitchen, in my living room, in my studio, in my home office. I got to meet her. And it was very special. It made it real, that these are real lives. And I was a little horrified to see the state of her living conditions, knowing that her work can command pretty high prices for people who collect her. I can only pray that she's received some of that. She's almost blind now. Her son has taken over the business and handed her that figurine to have her hold, but that was without a doubt the highlight of my trip. Here's some of her sweet figurines. You can kind of see the style of her work. Here was this warehouse full of painted and unpainted figures that were right there on display. And then right next door is her older sister. Josefina is the one who has had the renown, but also her sister, Guillermina, is also well known to collectors. And if you look, let's get, ooh, I can't. I thought I could maybe, no, I can't do that. I was going to show you the piece that I bought from Guillermina, which is right over her shoulder. I bought this piece of Mary, and I told my husband, I think Guillermina thought I was an idiot because I couldn't find my money. So, and she was a lovely woman with a lovely smile, but obviously didn't suffer fools gladly, and I was kind of acting like a fool when I was looking for my wallet. Another wonderful parade we had. And here's the textiles that I was talking about. When we went to the textile museum, we saw things that were dyed in indigo. So really interesting. Again, we take colors for granted. To see this bowl full of, stones that are used to make indigo, and then to see them used. And of course, it's what dyed our blue jeans. So here, I'm just going to leave you with some wonderful arrangements that just speak of the color and the joy and the enchantment of this amazing culture and country. It's just a shoe display. Isn't that beautiful, all the different colors? This was just a paper mache figure that was outside the door on the street. Day of the Dead, of course, which I think ties into that idea that we appreciate our life more when we remember our mortality. And that, of course, is what Day of the Dead is all about. Beautiful hand-painted bowls. This was an explosion of alebrijes. It's like I'm pretty much a dedicated shopper. Like nothing phases me. I was overwhelmed by this. It's like I didn't know where to start. But just look at the color. And each one of those is a, magical little creature that was in a artisan's co-op. And what's next? I heard that Ruben loves the conch-shaped pan dulce. But everything's beautiful? This is their bread. And the smell of this in the market was unbelievable. It was a work of art in itself. I don't know why this is doing this to me, Michael, but I'm losing my feed here. This was this adorable little girl who I found in the last A of the Oaxaca sign, taking a break before the parade passed. So that is there's one last one I want to show you. This is the one that didn't get seen. I was at a store, I was at a tienda, and this was this beautiful piece of embroidery that was just lying on a stool. Just there, somebody working on. So the art, the culture, the color is so much a part of this incredible country. And I'm still processing this trip. As you can see, we took in a lot, we did a lot. I know I'll be processing this for a long time. And when I was looking through the slides, trying to, pick the ones that would best maybe display some of my experiences, I could already see some of my memories were dimming. But what will keep them alive are the photos that I took and the art journal that I made and the little souvenirs that I will cherish. But I'm aware that I want to actively work with this trip, that I want to compost it. There's stuff here that happened that I experienced that I want to keep working. I want to keep working the soil. The late travel writer Anthony Bourdain. How many people love Anthony Bourdain or loved Anthony Bourdain? Yes. He said, travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It even breaks your heart. But that's okay. The journey changes you. It should change you. It leaves marks on your memory, on your consciousness, on your heart, and on your body. You take something with you. Hopefully, you leave something good behind. And it's in that spirit that I am thinking about two questions that my friend Lisa posed to us on the last day. One of them was, what am I taking back? What am I taking back? And of course, that was not a material question. It was a spiritual question. What am I taking back? And more importantly, perhaps, what am I leaving behind? What am I leaving behind? Any trip worth taking will always ask those two questions, including the journey of life. So may we all pause long enough throughout our travels and throughout our lifetimes to reflect on what we are taking and what we are giving back. And so it is. Thank you, God. Did you like that? You want to see more? Well, good. I just said that because I know we've got two major trips in the form of Ron and Cheryl that perhaps are left to be shared, and there's a lot of gear left too. So please keep in mind that you're invited to do the same thing. So for our guided meditation, I just want to read a version of the Lord's Prayer. Last week was International Women's Day. So to honor it, I want to read this version, which is a feminine version that was written by a woman named Roshani Rhea. It speaks to women everywhere in Mexico, in America, and around the world. And it's called a mothering version of the Our Father for International Women's Day. So if you feel comfortable, I invite you just to lean back and close your eyes and listen to these beautiful words. Our Mother, who art in Gaia, brown as loam, nameless as rain, may your presence be a golden void, the absence of the search. Let your family dwell here as a circle, not a kingdom, where spirit and body, heaven and earth mingle in small sacraments of compost and compassion. Be the breath we take, the bread we make each day with our own wrinkled hands. Let our prayer word be enough. For you are the weaver of galaxies into nests for young planets, and you sing the whole sky in a robin's egg. In you, we are always home. Dissolve the veil of judgment. Dispel our illusion of impurity, so that we may immerse each other in your fluids of abounding goodness. For thine is the roundness and the brokenness and the healing. Amen. Unity offers positive, practical, progressive spiritual teachings and tools that honor the universal truth in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. And here at Unity Spiritual Center, we have an inspiring vision, an exciting mission, and compelling values by which we strive to live. So I invite you to please join with me in saying them aloud. Our vision is: centered in God, we co-create a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Our mission is: we are a creative, joy-filled spiritual community dedicated to healing, inspiring, and transforming the lives of all people through prayer, education, and love. And our values are, we are spirit-led, generous with resources, inclusive, joyously creative, and guided by integrity. And in this space, feeling inspired by our vision, mission, and values, feeling enriched by what we've experienced here today and what we're about to experience, let us take time now to be a channel for enrichment through our generous tithes and love offerings. Practicing the principle of tithing ourselves as a spiritual community, we are pleased to tithe 10% of the offering collected today to Unity Worldwide Spiritual Institute and Raphael House. So let's take a moment to bless our tithes and love offerings, holding them in our hands or next to our hearts as we say our offertory prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
If you're lost and wandering through a forest dark and deep, if you're tired and weary and you're desperate for some sleep, every step you make seems further from your goal. You might even question the direction of your soul. And if you choose to follow through and create your fate, you must believe you will receive a message on that date. Life may be a mystery and quite a wild ride. All the twists and turns there are yours to decide. Well, you can walk around the world and soon be home again. It's just fine if where you end is the same as you begin. And though your path is different and to some it's rather odd, you will soon discover another road to God. I have often found myself searching for a clue. I was sure there was a plan God had for me to do. I listened for a whisper, I searched for a sign. It took some time for me to find the decision was all mine. So I carved a trail where none had gone before, and I began my journey as I walked out of the door. I thought that I would be alone and friendless on this trip. Then I found familiar faces all aboard my ship. Now you can walk around the world and soon be home again. It's just fine if where you end is the same as you begin. Although your path is different and to some seem rather odd, you will soon discover another road to God. And although my path is different and to some seem rather odd, I will soon uncover another road to God.
That was nice, Michael. Did you
I wrote that,
compose
yes, I did.
Love it.
We give thanks for the many blessings that are in our church this very moment. We open ourselves to the infinite possibilities that are ours to choose. We are filled with a mighty faith that empowers and frees us to live our divine purpose and serve our community with excellence. And so it is. Amen.
I've got a few announcements. Some of you asked about my shoes. I've decided these are there's no place like church. I've them 3 times. I'm back at church. As I mentioned earlier today, we're having our Women's Sacred Circle upstairs in the art attic from 12:45 to 3. This is going to be an ongoing circle that we have usually on the first Sunday of every month. Obviously, we didn't do it last Sunday because I was out of town. If you didn't join us the last time in January, or in February, don't let that stop you. You are always welcome to do this. 12:45 to 3, we've got a year-long project. We're working on our personal holy books. And if you don't have one with you, I do have a few for sale upstairs. There's no cost to join us. We take a love offering to replenish our art supplies, but we would love to have you join us for that. The next Sunday is March 17th. It is St. Patrick's Day, and you do not have to be Irish to be lucky on that day because we will be offering our Reiki Circle to everyone. It's on the third Sunday of the month by our Reiki practitioners. It's such a blessing that they offer this to us every month. And if you've heard about Reiki and would like to know more, would like to study it, Cheryl is offering a class at the end of this month. So on March 28th through 30th, she'll be offering her Reiki 1 class, and there's information and a sign-up sheet in the back. On March 24th, the Serendipity Choir will be joining us, so that's always a fun way to see how they interpret a particular theme. I think I'm going to give them the theme of imagination, which is our yearly theme. We'll see what they come up with when I give them that. We're also going to have a surprise visit by one of our beloved members who is part of our family, even though she now lives in Sacramento, and that is Evelyn Forrester. She specifically requested to be able to prepare the hospitality spread for that day, so it's going to be double delights. You get the Serendipity Choir and Evelyn Forrester's famous hospitality spread. And finally, on the last Sunday of the month, March 31st, we're going to have our 5th Sunday potluck and open mic event. For those of you who haven't come, it's really fun. You don't have to be super talented. You can do something like bring a poem that you love and share that. So if you have a talent, do share it. But if you have performance anxiety or don't really want to do that kind of thing, just share a story, share a quotation, share a joke. Rose Mikalo always comes with great jokes. It's always a blast, and it's a way to get to know your spiritual family here better. So please do join us for that on March 31st. I apologize to the teenagers if there's one still in the room. My daughter Chloe was sick today, really sick. She was taking medicine, which she doesn't usually like to do. But we will plan on having our next teens church at the last Sunday, or the fourth Sunday on March 24th. She'll be back for that. But we will bring in the kids right now.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Hello everyone. Today we talked about peace, and together as a group we brainstormed what we thought the word peace meant, and then each of them picked a surprise word from the basket, and they got to draw what the word said. So we'll start off here, and your word was calm, and we just want to say one thing about the picture you drew.
bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the presence of God in you, empowering you to do great things.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Wherever I am, God is. And all is well. Thank you, God.
Welcome. You all righty? I know. So now you should come back with a whole different groove in your head. Yeah, man, just get your finger cymbals together or something.